Dear students, let's deal with the classification of chordata. We have seen what a chordata is. Chordata are the group of organisms having some special characters like notochord, dorsal tubular, notochord, pharyngeal, gill slits, endostyle and postanal tail. The phylum Chordata have been divided into three subphyla: Subphylum Urochordata, Subphylum Cephalochordata and Subphylum Vertebrata. And these first two subphyla, Urochordata and Cephalochordata, are togetherly known as protochordates. So two protochordate subphyla, Subphylum Urochordata and Subphylum Cephalochordata are there, in which the Subphylum Urochordata has been divided into three classes: Class Ascidiacea, Class Thaliacea, Class Larvacea. Let's go into the details of the Subphylum Urochordata. They are also called tunicates because it has got an external protective covering called tusk or tunic. And this tusk or tunic is made up of a carbohydrate called tunicin. Subphylum Urochordata have got some special characters. They are exclusively marine, shallow coastal water habitat. Then notochord in larval stage only, means if they are becoming adult, the notochord along with some other characters like the tail portion of the notochord will be lost. Then adult looks like a sac. Then it is sessile, means it is attached with the substratum. Adult is attached with the substratum mostly, but some are pelagic. As we have already discussed, the organisms are encased in a protective covering called tunic or tusk. The Subphylum Urochordata have been divided into Class Ascidiacea, Thaliacea, Larvacea. Larvaceae has got another name, that is appendicularia. Other features of Subphylum Urochordata: mantle of three layers under the tunic, means we have already discussed there is a protective covering called tunic, under which there is another protective mantle. It has got three layers. Then there are two openings for the body: incurrent branchial aperture and excurrent atrial aperture, means the water along with the food particle enter the body through the branchial aperture, and the water and fecal matter are going out of the body through the excurrent atrial aperture. The digestive system has got perforated pharynx, means pharynx is the portion in between the buccal cavity and the esophagus, and the pharynx for pharyngeal wall have got many slits. They are called gill slits and they are used for filter feeding, means the food particle taken in along with the water will be filtered with the help of mucus secreted by the endostyle on the pharyngeal floor, and the water will go out through these gill slits to outside, means to the atria, and the water will be passed outside of the body through the atrial aperture. Then respiration is by the diffusion across the wall of the branchial basket. We have already discussed in the general characters of the chordate that the tissues associated with the slits have got vasculature, and the oxygen in the water taken in will be diffused into this vasculature. That is what is called diffusion, and the respiration occurs by diffusion across the wall of the branchial basket or pharyngeal basket. The dorsal tubular nerve cord is present in the larva, but the tail portion of the dorsal tubular nerve cord will be lost as the larva metamorphoses into adult. Then dorsal ganglion in adult, means the dorsal tubular nerve cord will be shortened to form a basic structure called ganglion, because the tail portion of the tubular nerve cord is lost during metamorphosis and only a ganglion will remain in the adult. There are no special sense organ in the adult urochordates. Reproduction occurs by asexual budding or sexually by gametes with retrogressive metamorphosis. We will explain what retrogressive metamorphosis is. First, we can go to the class 1 Ascidiacea. Ascidiacean are sessile, but a few are free swimming. They have got scattered muscle in tunic or the tusk. Mostly they are seen as solitary, but some are colonial and compound. Then branchial sac or the pharyngeal basket is large and well developed with its walls perforated by numerous gill slits. They are all repetition of the characters of the urochordate. Then atrium opens dorsally by atriopore. Notochord, dorsal tubular notochord and tail are absent in adults. Sexes are united and reproduction is sexual or asexual. Free swimming larvae are present and these larvae undergo retrogressive metamorphosis to form adult. Means most of the larval characters are lost during the development adult. That is what is called retrogressive metamorphosis. Let's go to one example of the class Ascidiacea. Ascidia is an organism belonging to the class Ascidiacea. Ascidians are, or they are also called sea squirts because they have got a property to make a squirt of water. We will explain later. These are the largest and most diverse class of the subphylum Urochordata. When disturbed, these ascidians will contract the body and squirt out jets of water through branchial and atrial openings. That's why they are called sea squirts. When disturbed, they will skirt out or project out or propels out water jets or splashes of water through the branchial and atrial openings. So there will be two jets of water coming out from both branchial and atrial openings if they are disturbed. Then about the number of species or the diversity of the Ascidia, approximately 3,000 described species are coming under genus Ascidia. There are no freshwater species. Bag-like body is covered by a thick, slightly cartilaginous and translucent tunic or tusk. Periodic reversal of the blood flow is present due to the contraction of the heart in opposite directions alternatively in every 3 or 4 seconds. The direction or the contraction of the heart is occurring in opposite direction once in a while, around in 3 or 4 seconds. That's why the periodical reversal of the blood flow occur in the case of Ascidia. Then the characters continues. Endostyle. What is meant by an endostyle? We have already discussed endostyle is a mid-ventral groove present on the pharyngeal floor and that secretes mucus and iodine containing protein. Mucus will trap the food particle. Then dorsal lamina is a thin flap of the tissue suspended from or hanging from the mid-dorsal portion of the pharyngeal sac. Dorsal means upper portion. Then peripharyngeal band. There are 2 ciliated bands connecting dorsal lamina and endostyle. These are also the characters, very important 3 characters of the Ascidia. Then pharynx is used for filter feeding and respiration because they have got gills and gill slits. Neural gland is present below the brain and it is excretory in function. Then wandering nephrocytes are also excretory in function. They are hermaphrodites, means sexes are united. Then there are 2 mechanisms for reproduction. They are called protogyny and protandry. Since they are hermaphrodites, they will produce both male and female gametes. If these male and female gametes are fertilizing with each other, the organism produced will be of the same parent. It will reduce the vigor and bring about the depression of some characters and the expression of the recessive negative aspects of the or genetic aspects of the organism. So in order to reduce the chance of the self-fertilization, either ovary matures first or the male gonad matures first. If the ovary matures first and releases the ovum, it is called protogyny. So there will be no chance of meeting this ovum with the sperm from the same organism. Similarly, if the male gonad matures first and releases male gametes, there will be no chances of meeting these male gamete with the female gamete from the same organism. So protogyny and protoandry are the mechanisms to prevent the self-fertilization in hermaphrodite organisms. We have discussed the structures. This is the endostyle, then pharyngeal basket. They have got a lot of gill slits, or they are called stigmata. Then this total body cavity is called atrium. Then a ventral heart is present here, and this is the part of the alimentary canal. This is the stomach. These are the two openings. This is the atrial aperture or atrial opening or atrial siphon opens out through the atrial aperture. This is the branchial aperture or oral aperture. The total protective covering is called tunic. Then Ascidian tadpole larva has got so many features that are not present in the adult. Larva has short oval body and long laterally compressed tail, just like the fishes or the tadpole of the frog. The Ascidian tadpole larvae are free-swimming and planktonic. The larva is positively phototropic and negatively geotropic. They are attracted towards the light. Then transparent body is covered by the tusk. Tail is supported by notochord. Tail is fringed with median caudal fin formed by the extension of the tusk. The tusk is extended to form the median fin. 3 adhesive papillae are present at the anterior end for the attachment. These are the adhesive papillae. These are used to attach with the substratum once they are going or once they are ready to the metamorphosis. Then digestive system is full but cannot feed as its mouth is covered by the tusk. Even though the digestive system is present fully, they cannot feed because their mouth is covered by the tusk. Dorsal tubular nerve cord and sense organs like eye spot and statocyst are present, but these are not present in the adult. Heart is enclosed by pericardium below the pharynx. Then we can explain what retrogressive metamorphosis is. Retrogressive metamorphosis is a metamorphosis in which the disappearance of some characters occur. Complete disappearance of the tail with its notochord, caudal portion of the dorsal tubular nerve cord and tail fins will occur. Then disappearance of the visual organ and statocyst will occur. Central part of the nervous system gives rise to the adult ganglion and the neural gland. Means the caudal portion of the dorsal tubular nerve cord will be lost and only the cephalic portion of the nervous system will remain. That will be converted to ganglion and the neural gland. The muscles in the caudal region degenerate because the total tail will be lost and the trunk becomes broader. Adhesive papillae are replaced by 4 ectodermal ampullae. Ampullae are the thickened portions. Adhesive papillae are the external projections from the anterior part of the larvae. They will be converted into 4 ectodermal thickened portion called or swollen portion called ampullae in the case of adults. And these are used for the attachment with the substrate in the case of adults. Mouth opens out, stomach and intestine grows in size. Then pharynx increases in size to become branchial sac. We have discussed that, or you know that the pharynx is broad and they will be called branchial sac or pharyngeal sac, and they have got slits provided with the vasculature. That's why they are called branchial sac with more number of gill slits. The atrium becomes more extensive. Gonads and gonadocs develop from the mesoderm. Change from an active free swimming habit to a fixed or sedentary life. That's the foremost important change in the behavior of the larva. Larvae are free swimming, but once they are ready to metamorphose, they will go into the bottom and attach with the substratum with the help of some adhesive papillae. And they will metamorphose into adult, and they will be entirely attached with a substratum or lead a sedentary life with the help of 4 ectodermal ampullae. Let's see the retrogressive metamorphosis of the Ascidian tadpole larva in detail. This is an Ascidian tadpole larva. The first point is the body grows disproportionately. What is meant by a disproportionate growth? The total body grows in size, but the growth may not be proportionate in all parts. Here, for example, the portion between the base and mouth grows rapidly. This is the base of the body, this is the mouth of the body. So this portion, the portion between base and mouth of the body grows rapidly, but next point is the portion between mouth and atriopore grows slowly. This is the atriopore, this is the mouth. This portion grows very slowly. So that's a disproportionate growth. So the total body grows disproportionately with more growth between the base and mouth and less growth between the area between the mouth and atriopore. The total body will rotate in post-dorsal direction by 180 degree because of this disproportionate growth. Now you can see this portion has grown much, but this portion has not grown much. This is the base of the body, this is the mouth of the body. The area between the base and mouth grows rapidly, but the area between the mouth and atrium grows very slowly. That's why this rotation occurred in the case of the body of the Ascidea. And the total tail features, here you can see the tail that has begun to degenerate. Most of the tail portions and the notochord and the dorsal tubular nerve cord in the tail are degenerated. Here you can see the degenerating notochord, and the total tail will be lost in the case of the adult once the larva metamorphoses into adult. Then bilaterally symmetrical, the larva was bilaterally symmetrical, but it is lost in the case of adult. Bilateral symmetry is lost, and now it has become an adult with branchial aperture and atrial aperture at the same end, at the upper end of the body. Then branchial and atrial aperture are brought to one end and become sedentary or attached with the substratum. Because here you can see the adhesive papillae, they became swollen ampulla, and they are used for the attachment of the body with the substratum. This is all about the retrogressive metamorphosis of the subphylum Urochordata. Now we can go to the second class, class 2 Thaliacea. They are free swimming, pelagic, and they are seen as either solitary or colonial. Body is barrel shaped. You can see here a feature. Body is barrel shaped with a transparent and permanent tusk, just like the class Ascidiacea. Mouth and atriopore at opposite ends of the body. That is different from the Ascidea. Body wall musculature is in the form of complete rings. You can see here there are so many rings. They are musculature. Complete or incomplete circular bands of muscles are there. Then adults are devoid of tail and notochord, as in the case of Ascidiacea. Sexes are united, reproduce both sexually and asexually. Asexual reproduction is by budding, and another feature is that alternation of sexual and asexual generation can be seen in the case of Thaliacea. We can go to an example, that is Salpa. Salpa is an organism coming under class Thaliacea, asexual or solitaria phase. They are represented by oozoids, and sexual or gregaria phase is represented by gonozoids. In the last slide, we have said that alternation of sexual and asexual generations are there. Here, the asexual phase is called solitaria phase, that is represented by oozoid. Then sexual or gregaria phase are represented by gonozoid. Solitaria means single, gregaria means in group. Another feature of the organism is that they will pump out the water entering the body and moves in opposite direction. Then pharynx opens to atrium by a pair of large gill slits. It aids in filter feeding and planktonic organism. This is the feature of all urochordates. Now we can go into the details of two generations, asexual oozoid or solitaria phase and sexual blastozoid or gregaria phase. Here, asexual oozoid is bilaterally symmetrical, but this is ovoid and asymmetric. A pair of test process. You can see a pair of test process, 7 to 20 muscle bands are there. 7 to 20 muscle bands are there. Here only a few muscle bands, but not test process and stolon. Esophagus, in the case of asexual zooid, esophagus, stomach, pylori gland, intestine are togetherly seen as an opaque globular mass called a nucleus. Then there are no gonads. Since they are asexual oozoids, there are no gonads, but they produce a ribbon-shaped structure called stolon from near endostyle. From the pharyngeal floor, they will produce a ribbon-shaped structure called stolon. They will bud off a chain of blastozoids. The stolon will bud off to form a chain of blastozoids. Those blastozoids will become sexual gonozoids. In the case of sexual blastozoid, that means the produced buds from the asexual oozoid, they will have gonads. These blastozoids will have gonads, and they are bisexual and protogynous, means the male gonads will mature first and produce the male gametes. Fertilization is internal, but self-fertilization will be prevented because the male gonads mature first and the female gametes may fertilize with the male gametes entering the body from outside of some organism. Then some zygote develops inside the uterine sac of the body of the blastozoid. Development is direct without the larva. Embryo transforms directly into asexual zooids. The embryo of this sexual blastozoid will transform directly into asexual zooids, which escapes from the parent's body of this blastozoid and leads a free swimming life outside. And that is what is called solitaria phase. That's why it is said that they have got alternation of generation, alternation of asexual generation with the sexual generation. Next class is class 3, Larvaceae. They are also free swimming and pelagic. Pelagic means they are seen almost towards the upper surface of the water. The larva-like form. Their body is larva-like. They are called Larvaceae because their body is like larva. And they are neotenic. Why they are called neotenic? Even though the adult look like, even though the organisms have become adult, they look like larvae. That's why they are called neotenic, retaining larval characters even in adult stage, including tail and persistent notochord. That's why it is said that they are neotenic, because their metamorphosis is incomplete. You can see here. Actually, the organism is protected inside a jelly-like translucent or transparent temporary envelope called house. This is the house, and it is protective, hydrostatic and food filtering. Protective, and they will give buoyancy for the body, and they help in the filtration of the food particle from the water. Atrium is absent. Pharynx is large with 2 gill slits which open directly out of the body. Alimentary canal is bent. Here you can see alimentary canal is bent and U-shaped with the mouth and anus close to each other. Then sexes are united. Asexual reproduction is unknown. So this is the house of the Larvaceae, and the organism is actually present inside it. We have drawn it to see in large size. Actually the organism is present inside the house, and there are 2 filter feeding apparatus here you can see. In the case of the example, Oikopleura is an example of the class Larvaceae. 1 to 4 millimeter in length. Animal can move freely inside the house. This animal can move freely inside the house with the aid of the tail. They are filter feeders, and for which two filters are embedded in the walls of the house. This is a filter, this is another filter. These are embedded in the walls of the house and one connected with the mouth. Filters are made up of strands of mucus that keep out big particles out while feeding. When the water is coming inside with the food particle is retained or trapped with the help of mucus strands of the filters, and the water is passed out. Then otocyst or auditory sense organ is present near the ganglion. Only one species, all except one species, are hermaphrodite. Gametes are shed into water. Sperm is released first, then egg is released by rupturing the body and animal then dies. That's all about the case of class Larvaceae and the example Oikopleura. You can see the organism here. Actually, these organisms live inside the house. Thank you.